Hello everybody and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Video Clips, and as usual I'm going to give you a couple of announcements. The first thing is we have a lot of interest in this weight loss certification course, and I'm going to teach it live in March. I've decided that I'm going to do that before I put it on a video platform. I think our videos are always better after I teach something live, and people seem to like the live instruction. We have more people sign up for that right away because it's an opportunity to ask questions, interactive, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, if you're interested in taking that, we have that course and some package deals for other certification courses that you might want to look into too. And then at the Institute, we have some classes that diabetes just started this week. Herbal medicine and nutritional issues start a little bit later in the semester, so there's still time to enroll in those. And then, save the best announcement for last, our new website is up, wellnessforumhealth.com. And we're very excited about that, and I just want to publicly recognize our webmaster, Patty Kimball, who's an amazing person who engineered this whole transition with, you have no idea, 20 years of accumulation on a website. It's a big project to move it, so we appreciate the heck out of her. All right, so we're going to talk about, first of all, something that is timely for this kind of year, this time of year, which is seasonal affective disorder. It's a form of depression that usually begins during the fall and it ends toward the end of winter. And the symptoms are really similar to those of general depression. People can feel hopeless, they lose interest in normal activities, they have sleep difficulties and problems concentrating and those kinds of things. And people can get seasonal affective disorder even who are not normally depressed. I mean, depressed people will sometimes get worse at this time of year. Some additional symptoms of SAD include irritability, low energy, changes in appetite, including craving sweet and high-calorie foods, and more difficulty getting along with others. Now, I have to say, I know some people who have these difficulties year-round, so we can't always attribute these kinds of things to difficulty getting along with others. It's not just characteristic of seasonal affective disorder. Now, there are all kinds of hypotheses about cause, and I'm not sure anybody knows for sure, but the biggest and most common theories are less daylight and less sunshine, which lowers serotonin levels, and disruption in the production of melatonin, which influences both mood and sleep cycles. People who are already depressed, females, and those who live in northern climates and areas of the world are the most likely to develop SAD. Of course, the drug companies have answers for this. You can take sleeping pills, you can take antidepressants, all kinds of other drugs, but I think that better options are both phototherapy and cognitive therapy. Now, phototherapy, you've probably heard a lot about. These are the light boxes that you buy, and you sit a few feet from the box, and it emits bright light, and it mimics outdoor light. And it's very, very effective, by the way, and you don't have to just sit and look at the box. You can answer your emails or eat your breakfast or whatever, but we have a lot of members here who've gotten a lot of benefit from phototherapy. Cognitive therapy is effective for depression, so a natural question is, would it be effective for seasonal affective disorder? It makes sense that it would. So a group of researchers set out to find out, how does cognitive therapy compare to light therapy? Well, they took 177 adults who were suffering from seasonal affective disorder, who were randomized to 6 weeks of light therapy for 30 minutes each morning, which is about what people spend, the members who we have here that do this, or 6 weeks of cognitive therapy. The group that attended therapy, they met in groups twice a week for 90 minutes. And then the participants were evaluated at the beginning, 3 weeks, and then at the end of treatment. Both of them resulted in significant improvement, and there was really no difference in remission rates from between the two groups, so one was effective as the other. And the authors concluded that both light therapy and cognitive therapy were a good idea for seasonal affective disorder. Now, since neither treatment resulted in remission for all of them, I think the natural conclusion next might be, well, what if you did both? Got the cognitive therapy and got a light box at the same time, might result in even more patients having remission. And then if you were to add to that the other things that we know are effective for depression, like adopting an optimal diet, exercise, and those kinds of things, and a trip to a sunny climate in the winter, that can be a help. So I think we could get the numbers up even higher by doing even more of the things that we know have an effect. Late fall and winter in northern climates, with the short days and long nights and gray skies and sometimes incessant snow and ice, can make even people who aren't depressed feel a little bit blue. And I'll confess to being not so much my happy self sometimes. When we've had terrible winters here, I get tired of it too. So it's good news that there's safe and effective remedy for this that doesn't involve drug treatment. I personally don't want to take drugs for something like this. I'd rather visit a sunny climate, do an extra workout, or sit in front of a light box. So anyway, so I want to talk about next, you have a right to be vegan if you live in a particular part of Canada. I'm generally involved for limited involvement of government in our lives. So it's with mixed emotions that I report that the Human Rights Commission in Ontario has determined that being a practicing vegan is a right, and that vegans are now protected from discrimination by the same laws that protect religious freedom. The new policy expands the definition of creed to cover ethical vegans. Now, under the new policy, service providers such as schools, hospitals, and employers are affected, and the law provides some guidance as to what this will mean in actual practice. So some examples would be hospitalized patients would be entitled to a vegan meal prepared by the hospital. Now that would be a great improvement. Students in a high school or university that for ethical reasons didn't want to dissect animals or bugs or anything else would have the right to opt out without any negative consequences. And employers holding company meetings involving food we'll need to make sure that vegans have options and that sort of thing. So even uniforms at the work site will be affected because some uniforms use animal material, and ethical vegans would be able to opt out of wearing a uniform that was made with any animal components. Natural question is, how binding is this policy? Well, interpretation and enforcement of the policy is vested in the Human Rights Tribunal of Ontario, which hears claims about human rights abuses, but sources say that the Commission's policies, while not binding on the tribunal, are well respected and most often enforced. Now, is this a good idea? We've had quite a lot of conversation about it here at Wellness Forum Health, and so I'll start by reiterating my opposition to more government regulation. And it would be disingenuous to say I like this particular government regulation because it happens to cater to people like me, but the reality is that mandates cost employers money, and this raises the prices of goods and services, and these types of mandates usually generate a lot of lawsuits, and that raises the prices of goods and services and also clogs up the court system, which we really don't need. I guess I would feel more comfortable if this mandate covered places like hospitals that are partially supported by public funds and schools. I really prefer to see the marketplace address the problem, and I think the good news is that the marketplace has actually been addressing this problem for a long time. Consumer demand causes marketplace changes, and we've seen that almost all restaurants offer vegan options, and sometimes you have to ask, but they're almost always accommodating. And one of my favorite stories to share is having a good vegan meal at the IHOP in Marshall, Texas. And I've always said, if you can have a good vegan meal at the IHOP in Marshall, Texas, no excuse for not doing this. Last weekend I was at a movie and they served Brussels sprouts and left off the cheese for me. So Brussels sprouts at the movie indicates that things are definitely changing. And that, most food service operations are offering options, and grocery stores have increased their how much healthy food they carry because they have to do that to be competitive right now. So I'm going to call this a win from this standpoint. I think that anything that happens that recognizes the fact that a vegan diet is a reasonable option for people to choose. I mean, we're not lunatic fringe people who've decided to do this, who are wearing tie-dyed shirts and singing Aquarius as we walk into these places of business, right? So I'm going to call this a win because there's some recognition that this is reasonable, but I'm just going to urge caution that we not get carried away with a whole lot more government regulation, because God knows we got enough of that going on in the United States of America and in countries like Canada too. So that's all for today. As usual, pass this on to anybody who you think would enjoy watching it, and I will be back to you on Thursday with more news.